Today we're delving into the correlation between depression and divorce. While I'm not a doctor, I am medically trained, and I'll get into my qualifications at the end of this video because it's important to the narrative. If you're going through divorce, 60% of you will have symptoms of depression, but only 13% will seek treatment. Bottom line is that men don't know how to cope, and our main coping mechanism is withdraw. Here we are in what's supposed to be a time where we need help the most, and we withdraw. Now, we all know someone with depression, a parent, sibling, your ex, yourself. But how we get there? Because it slips in through the cracks unnoticed. Depression isn't a sudden onset kind of thing. Depression begins with anhedonia, which is the fancy word for losing interest. What you don't know and can't know at the time is that it's the beginning of one of the loneliest chapters of your life. But as men, we disguise it as just taking time for ourselves as we withdraw. Anhedonia begins with a simple, small shift, a missed workout, a skipped activity to compensate for the stress, then another, then another, then another, and the downward spiral begins. You used to work out regularly, but now you're too busy. You used to hang out at Starbucks to get some work done, but now it's just too distracting there. You like going to the movies, but you just want to avoid the crowds now. Even in time, your kids, they start to slip. Excuses, they pile up, and before you know it, you've retreated from a world of first into your house, then to your bedroom, and soon you're spending your entire days just binge watching on Netflix, avoiding everything that brought you joy in the past. You become isolated, afraid of living, but recognizing these early signs is crucial. And if anything like this feels familiar, seek help, because the sooner you confront it, the sooner that you can start reclaiming your life.
To defeat it, you're going to need to be strategic to near algorithmic levels. You need guidance. You need to know that no matter how hopeless it all seems, that you're going to beat this because you're a resilient motherfucker. And you're going to channel that pain into a better, more rounded man. You need help. It's okay. Just ask. People say that nothing's more precious than your time, but I'd argue that your sanity, that's more precious. And when people think of depression, they normally think of major depressive disorder or clinical depression. But they're two different things. Depression is a symptom, and clinical depression or major depressive disorder, that's a diagnosis. So not all depression is treated with antidepressants. The thing about divorce is that those close to you, they don't understand. They can't grasp that the life that you knew, that it's over. So they console you with knee-jerk responses like, give it time or hang in there. But that's what others say when they don't know what to say. And let's face it, that's what we say when we're trying to close a conversation. Hanging in there or giving it time it's unimaginative, lazy, it's the status quo. And it doesn't mean shit because it only makes things worse. You need action. Giving it time isn't the only variable here. You need a strategic plan. You need to play offense and defense at the same time. You need to lift yourself up. And as a man, you're twice as likely to suffer from post-divorce depression than your ex because she was your confidant. You have no one else. You depended on her, but she left you. She left you thereby making you feel worthless. I find it ironic, highly ironic, how here you are in the most catastrophic event of your life, and the person that's supposed to be there to times just like these is the one that's causing all the pain. Now, experts, they'll say that you're hurting because you're keeping your feelings all bottled up inside, and that's true for some of you. You may be keeping them bottled up, but I too consider myself an expert, and I'm not so sure that it's because you're keeping your feelings to yourself. Ask any divorce and recovery coach with any kind of freshman experience, and they'll say that it's the ones that are constantly talking and reciting their woes that are the hardest to recover. And by the way, that data has been debunked since the 1960s. I think it's more on how you approach the conversation, whether it's effective or not. Data shows that reliving the experience only exacerbates the problem and puts you down a downward spiral because you get into what's referred to in philosophy as the absurd. But we may know it by its common name, the mind fucks. Take people with PTSD, for instance. We don't have them talk about the problems. Fuck no. That's Psych 101. One of the main reasons why guys don't book a consultation with me is because they don't want to think about it. It's not because you think I can't help you, but rather because you have this hope for the best attitude. But hoping for the best is using hope as a tactic, and that's not a way to go through this shit. Somehow, reaching out is admitting defeat. It's saying out loud that it's over, and it makes it all too real for you. So you numb your pain in silent desperation. You listen to false prophets promising you that they can help save your marriage, thereby charging you an astronomical sum because it's much easier to sell a false hope than it is to buy your reality. Just the facts. But with me, you signed up for a batting lesson, a lesson on how to handle and hit the curveballs that life throws at you. It's about timing, reading the pitch, anticipating the pass, and knowing when and where to swing. All done with precision and confidence. Now, here's a behind-the-scenes look at an initial consultation that I had with a client. This is the first question that you could expect from me.
I'm going to be asking you a lot of questions, and a lot of them you'll be like, why the fuck is he asking me this kind of stuff?
No.
When was the last time you saw a physician or had a physical exam?
I need to know the last time you saw your doctor was my second question, asking about your medications. Now, you'd think I'd be asking about what took place at the end of your marriage, but that's too generic a question and highly inefficient. You want to vent? Talk to your family. I know you're hurting, but you and we have a 90-minute appointment, and I wouldn't be doing you any favors if we didn't get to the point. Besides, she's taken enough of your life. It's time to begin getting comfortable talking about yourself and beginning with your health, because with stress, your blood pressure soars, your blood sugar increases, you become highly anxious to the point of paranoia, and you're at a high risk of depression. Treatment for major depressive disorder takes weeks to months to take its full effect. It's not a quick fix, and for us to work as a team, I need to know your mental state. Whether you're open to treatment or not, it doesn't matter. I'm well aware that they do come with some rather significant side effects, one of them being anorgasmia, also known as the fireworks that never launch, stuck at the finish line, the ultimate plot twist, no climax, the train that won't leave the station, all revved up with nowhere to go, the suspense thriller with no ending, the piñata that never breaks, the encore that never happens, the grand finale that forgot to show up, the high-speed chase that runs out of gas, the oven that preheats but never bakes, or my personal favorite, blue balls, when your Pornhub favorites forget the happy ending. No, I'm not proud of myself. Sorry. But remember that depression is a symptom. There's a myriad of other underlying diseases that can present as depression, and if your testosterone is low, it's often mistaken for major depressive disorder. Hypogonadism, or low testosterone, or andropause as it's often referred to, is overwhelmingly undertreated here in the United States. It's a treatment that, despite significant protest from the medical community, was heavily lobbied into becoming a controlled substance, meaning that it's now classified under the federal law as having potential for abuse or dependence. Now you need a DEA number when prescribing it, making access more difficult to patients who genuinely need it. But testosterone isn't just about building muscle. People think that when you take it, that it turns you into some kind of beast, but that's not how it works. Everyone has some level of testosterone, even women, because it's a key regulator in overall health, including your mental well-being. It increases your energy level, makes you feel younger, and literally gives you a hard-on. But when they drop, particularly with age or prolonged stress, like your ass getting divorced, symptoms often mimic or overlap those of clinical depression. Sometimes in your mid to late 30s, your testosterone levels, it begins to drop. It also drops when you're stressed, like your ass getting divorced. And when that happens, they mimic a lot the symptoms of depression. It's associated with increased rates of fatigue. You get mood disturbances, cognitive fog, you lack focus. And similar to antidepressants, testosterone regulates neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine, which you know are essential in mood regulation. So when your testosterone's low, these neurotransmitters, they become dysregulated, and that leads you to feeling this emptiness, this void, like something's just wrong. So you get a heightened sense of negativity, apathy, and even physical pain, because seriously, depression hurts. I've used it in my clinic in the past to treat certain types of pain. This is particularly important during and after divorce, when stress hormones like cortisol, they start running rampant, and high levels of cortisol can further suppress the testosterone production, and that compounds the emotional and physical toll that it takes on you. So at 35, your testosterone begins to drop, but the incidence of andropause is actually increasing. The treatment is decreasing, and that's due to a combination of bad press, your doctor's reluctance to prescribe a controlled substance, and the stigma that's accompanied with by people jumping on the anti-androgen bandwagon. For some reason, there's a correlation between that and violence, which has totally been debunked. The way I see it is when a female starts menopause, it's standard of care to prescribe estrogen so that she doesn't go through it so bad. And similar should be true for testosterone when guys go through andropause. And it's not just for gym bros trying to get some gains here. There's tremendous amount of psychological benefits. You get increased focus, energy, awareness, memory, sharpness, sleep, increased libido. You just feel more energetic and just overall younger and more alive. And if you're curious as to how physicians, how they diagnose depression or clinical depression, they rule out other possibilities, right? They do a physical exam, lab test, and then, and this is true, please bear with me because it is true, they prescribe you an energy capsule. So remember the mnemonic, SIG, ECAPS. SIG is actually shorthand for the Latin word signa, meaning to prescribe or to write. So they're prescribing you an E, an energy, CAPS,
capsule. So they're prescribing you an energy capsule. So Sig E caps, Sig E caps. Sorry about that. So how does this mnemonic work? You have to meet 5 of the 7 criteria to get to the diagnosis. So S is for sleep changes, as in too little sleep or just wanting to sleep all the time and still feeling tired. I is for interest loss or anhedonia. G is for guilt. E is for energy loss. C is for concentration issues. A is for appetite changes. P is for psychomotor changes, as in your body doesn't react to stimuli or reacts overly. Is for ideation of suicide. And believe me, I hated asking that question back when I was being trained, but as one attending once told me, Renee, they thought about it a long time ago. So I did some joking around throughout this very serious problem, and respectfully, it's my sincere hope that I didn't offend anybody, nor I appeared glib on the matter. There is the ultimate price that one does pay with depression, and that's with their life. Antidepressants, they come with a black box warning. In extremely rare cases, they have been shown to increase the risk of suicide in younger people, and gradually the reduction tapers down and actually decreases the incidence in older adults. Data shows that divorced men are 2 to 3 times more likely to die by suicide than married men, and 7 times more likely to die by suicide than married women. That's 100 to 200% more likely to die by suicide. But how much is that in absolute numbers? Married men, they have a suicide rate of 10 per 100,000 per year, versus divorced men who attempt and succeed at a rate of 30 per 100,000 per year. While the data of antidepressants and suicide rate is mixed, it's unquestionable that lifestyle changes and antidepressants will make a positive impact on your overall quality of life. Some of the most terrifying conversation I've had has been with men wishing to end their life by pointing the barrel of a gun on their mouths and pressing the trigger. And this is especially true if they're intoxicated. Talk to a professional, one that knows what they're doing, and considering that it takes up to 2 months for antidepressants to have their full effect, every day that you wait is a delay in your recovery. Treatment may not be the entire cure, but you still have to change your lifestyle, but at least you get ahead of this game of Russian roulette. Now, if you wish to watch further and see my qualifications and my personal history of depression, stay here and watch for this very informational and informal talk. If not, thank you very much. People assume that my depression started with my divorce, but when I got divorced, I was already keenly aware of the warning signs and was uber proactive in the treatment. My depression, or my illness, as my parents call it, because quite frankly, it does affect everyone around you, everyone that loves you, it affects them. But my illness, it began while I was in medical school. I'll spare you the details because it's really not important to the narrative, but it was my final year and I failed a subjective test. Now, something you need to know about medicine is that no one fails their final year. You're basically by then applying for residency, you've passed your boards, you're pretty much done. But I failed. And the final exam I failed was a subjective one. I was given 2 years off. Now, you have to think, when you're given 2 years off of working 100 hours a week in another state that you don't really know, it's going to cause some chaos in the sense of you don't know what the fuck to do. That's all I knew, work. So during those two years, I went down a downward spiral and I didn't get help. As my friend would say, who now has a very successful practice in anesthesiology, as he would say, is what happened with Renee is someone shit all over him and he never bothered to wipe. And I'd say that's an astute, very real answer. I mean, I should have seen the warning signs. I've had years of behavioral science training, did a sub-internship in psychiatry. I should have fucking known. I should have known what I was up against. But the thing is that self-care, it doesn't exist in medicine. And I lost myself. I lost my identity. And during those 2 years, I stopped giving a shit. I withdrew. I channeled my disappointment in life by drinking. And I drank. And that's what happens when you go from working 100-hour weeks to having suddenly nothing to do. I didn't have a life and I didn't know how to build one. So I checked out. And I was notified that I wasn't going back. I just packed up everything, 6 years of life into my car, contemplated suicide. I wanted out. But if I was lucky, maybe I'll get into an accident on my drive from Denver to LA. That didn't happen. And I continued drinking and became a shadow of the man that I used to be. But there was an 8-month span that I stopped drinking, and what happens is sometimes life cuts you a break. And during those 8 months, I was given the opportunity to work for a Fortune 100 company in the pharmaceutical industry. And I nailed it. I had to reinvent myself. I was in my early 30s and climbed up the corporate ladder against people 10 years my junior. Soon I developed a consulting business, and I'm following my passion by consulting divorced men. I'd like to say that I'm happier now, but compared to what? Medicine was brutal. It's true what they say about those long hours. They're long and lonely. But if I would have graduated and left, it would have been my decision. I never, ever truly recovered from that moment. There's a lot of what ifs that I have. What if I had a support group? What if I had a motherfucking coach? What if I would have just taken antidepressants? Life just was unfair. I always say in my divorce that I bruised, but I didn't scar. But when God took that God-given honor and privilege of working with people with illness and working to get them better, that scarred me. It scarred me large. Part of me died. So what I can say is that when my ex divorced me, I wasn't going to let that happen. I wasn't going to let the Titanic sink twice. So I remember going on my bed, laying down, feeling sorry for myself and thinking, Renee, this could get really bad. Like really bad. You got to do something about it. And I got up, gathered my boys, and we're going to play tennis. During the playing tennis, I was miserable. I was anxious. I even had my son take pictures. And but I also did something where I used my networking skills to talk to somebody and set up an appointment with a psychiatrist who right away, he saw the warning signs that began the treatment. Gentlemen, take the necessary precautions. Seek treatment. Don't wait. It takes 2 months for these medications to kick in. Talk to a professional. Set something up with me. I'm going to make sure that you get taken care of. But do something, because you don't want to scar. Not from this. And last, let me know what you thought about this format. Did you think it made sense, or did you not like it? Perhaps it was a waste of your time, or did it not make sense? Or maybe I give you some information that was helpful from my perspective. Let me know. Either way, thank you. And please, set something up with your doctor. Set something up with me. Set something up. Don't take no for an answer. Bless.